Good afternoon. You're on to Arise News. Voting is underway in Ekiti State, southwest Nigeria, to elect a new governor. It's been a long time coming. The build-up to this election is an intriguing story of just how, according to analysts, governance in one of Nigeria's most enlightened jurisdictions continues to revolve around the same established circle of political godfathers and their proteges, rather than devolve into a less manipulated exercise involving fresh blood with newer ideas. The three top contenders in the election comprise of Segun Oni, that's a former governor of Ekiti State, and the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party. His first term in office as governor was cut short by an appeal court judgment which nullified his election and installed the current governor, Kayode Fayemi, in his place.
Bisi Kolawole is the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party and is presumed to be the favored candidate of another former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, while Biodun Oyebanji is the candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress. A former secretary to the Ekiti State government, Oyebanji is thought to enjoy the good graces of the incumbent governor, Dr. Kayode Fayemi.
Now, those three candidates are assumed to be the top horses in today's race, and that's purely on the assumption that their political parties possess the wherewithal or the war chest to successfully prosecute a governorship election that will be a bellwether for next year's presidential election. But all of these assumptions must not be construed to mean a slight on the ability of the rest of the field to cause an upset. Hello and welcome. I'm Cynthia Are.
And I'm Hawa Mukan. Our special coverage of the 2022 Ekiti governorship elections continues now.
Welcome. Now, thousands of voters are filing out in Ekiti State filing out in Ekiti State to elect a new governor that will succeed Governor Kayode Fayemi, who is in the last days of his second four-year tenure. No fewer than 16 political parties are fielding candidates for the election, but it's expected to be a fierce battle involving Biodun Oyebanji of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Segun Oni of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, and Bisi Kolawole of the People's Democratic Party, that's PDP. Arise senior correspondent Oba Adeoye, who's been monitoring the exercise from very early in the day, within which time he caught Governor Kayode Fayemi voting, joins us now for an update. Oba, it's good to have you join us. It looks like everything's going relatively well in terms of security. How's it playing out?
Yeah, security-wise, everywhere is peaceful across Ekiti State. I've been to a couple of local governments today, and I'm back in the state capital, that's Ado-Ekiti, exactly in front of the Ekiti State University Teaching Hospital, a very popular area in Ado-Ekiti. And you can see behind me, the voters are comporting themselves orderly in Ado-Ekiti, likewise in several other places. And I can tell you that everywhere is calm. Security operatives are working seriously to ensure that the dictate of the electoral law is being followed. That's the restriction of movement as far as this election is concerned. But sadly, I can tell you that a couple of soldiers appear not to have full information about the fact that journalists are also enabled to move from one point of the state to another. We had an issue on our way to covering the Governor Kayode Fayemi, who voted in somewhere in Oye local government area of the state earlier this morning, and we were stopped for some minutes, the soldiers felt like we should not be moving, that the directive they were given is that nobody moves from one point to another. It took us several minutes of explanation for them to allow us, access into the local government. But all in all, apart from that, security situation is under control. Don't forget that the police authorities told us that they deployed 17,374 police personnel to work in this election, while the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps has a total of 9,747 personnel working in this election. So security is intact and everything is orderly here in Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital.
At Oba, it sure does look like the turnout is a lot. There's a lot of people in the background we can see. And it's quite unfortunate, the situation you had with the soldiers, especially being a press man. Have you heard any other situations of individuals who have had issues from moving from their places of residence to the center to vote today?
No, not at all. Not at all. The residents have been so cooperative, and with my experience of covering elections across Nigeria, I can tell you that the electorate in Ekiti State seem to be highly, informed about the process. And everywhere we have been to this morning, we've enjoyed full cooperation from them, helping us to navigate our way around the city, and of course providing us information anytime we need the information. And I know that some independent election monitoring groups are also on ground. They may have touched areas where journalists, especially us, especially our team, may not have, might not have covered. And here with me, I have the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association National Election Working Group, that's Aderemi Oguntoye, who has also been on ground here with us, monitoring the election in several parts of the state. Let me just put a question or two to him to tell us what he has observed so far since this process started. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So tell us quickly, what have you observed so far since the beginning of this process?
Well, generally, we have covered, our team has covered well over 10 to 12 local governments, within Ekiti State, and we discovered that 80% of the places we have covered is generally peaceful. You can see what's going on behind us right here. This is just one of the few places where you have rowdy situation, and basically is as a result of lack of administration on the part of INEC. We have some polling units around this area, not too far from here, where you have less than 50 registered voters, and in this place you have over 2,000. So they have personnel, polling unit officers in the places where you have less than 50, and they have the same number of polling unit officers to deal with over 2,000 electorates in this particular place. So, but generally, it's been peaceful. There are allegations of vote buying in certain places, but is unsubstantiated. So far, we've not been able to substantiate any in terms of physical evidence to know whether there is vote buying or not. In certain places as well, we discovered that the technology is working well. Technology has been deployed for the purpose of accreditation. It's called BVAS, the biomodal verification of system for voters, and it's working pretty well. And it's some kind of electronic gadget to ensure that vote inflation.
One is even working behind it. The camera could see there. One is working and it's working perfect.
So issues like voters inflation, will be reduced, drastically, because at the polling unit level, you are able to capture the number of voters that came forward for accreditation, and that will help a long way, because generally, as you know, in the most important result is at the polling unit, and we understand that from the INEC regulation that was released pursuant to the 2022 Electoral Act. At this polling unit as well, the moment voting is over, the polling unit officers will take electronic picture of the result and transmit directly to INEC portal. So gradually, technology is being implemented, and that can only augur well for the system.
In terms of security, what have you observed? I know you've been moving from one local government to another. What have you observed on the overall?
Well, overall, it's been okay. There's heavy presence of the police, Nigerian police. There's heavy presence of the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps. But you realize at the major city borders, you have the men of the military. And that is the only uncomfortable situation that we have, because they're not well groomed when it comes to interaction with the citizens. You know, we've had issues with them as well. So, but as far as the police is concerned, in most of the polling units, you know, nobody is afraid, nobody is intimidated. People are carrying on, you know, their franchise, you know, as they should, and you wouldn't see any policeman with weapons. You know, that's part of the agreement between the police and INEC, and that is being carried out. The only issue, like I said, is the men of the military that are not really on top of their game when it comes to interaction with the citizens.
All right, thank you so very much. We'll get back to you later. So I've been speaking with the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association National Election Working Group, Aderemi Oguntoye, who also has been with us in Ekiti for some days now, you know, going about seeing what the process looks like. It will interest you a while to know that Ekiti has the highest number of registered voters in this election, and they can see this is one of the most crowded places that we have visited today, and we're told that we have more than 2,000 registered voters in this place alone. So you can understand why we have this rowdy session here. There are other 2,445 polling units all across the state where this process will be taking place, and it is expected that 76% of the total registered voters who have picked their permanent voters card will be taking part in this exercise, and that's to tell you that 989,202 persons actually registered for this election, but only 76% of that figure actually picked their card, and that means those are the ones that will be voting in this election. You can see the process here. You have to bring your PVC first, and the electoral officer will cross-check to see whether your name is actually on the voters register, after which you'll be given a copy of the ballot sheet where we have all the 16 political parties that are contesting this election. So you take it and then you go to the cubicle down there, the white cubicle down there where you can see the lady putting on red gown there. You go there and secretly you cast your ballot. After casting the ballot, then you drop it in the ballot box not too far away from that cubicle. So all in all, the exercise has been so peaceful and the people have been so orderly, and we hope that the situation will remain the same till the end of the day. Don't forget that this exercise, according to INEC, was to start at 8:30 a.m. and it will run till 2:30 p.m. and until the last person on the queue cast their vote. That is when the exercise will come to an end. So we are still keeping the tab on, all the polling units across Ekiti State to see how things will play out here. But I can also tell you that truly there have been allegations of vote buying in some parts, and the candidate of the SDP, that's Engineer Segun Oni, also corroborated that much when we spoke with him. But we have not been able to establish independently where we have people paying voters to induce them to vote for them. Over to you.
Very well said, Oba. Interestingly, the PDP candidate, Bisi Kolawole, gave a bit of a backhanded compliment when talking about the bimodal voter accreditation system. While he said that, this process has accelerated the voting process, he also mentioned that he hopes that there will not be any manipulation afterwards. Do you have any, what are your thoughts on why he might have made that statement?
You know, politicians, they have their contacts, they have their sources all across the state. And you may not be able to rely 100% except you can independently verify any claim by any politician. But I can tell you that places where we have visited this morning, the local government we have visited, the polling unit we have visited this morning, we have seen that the machines are working perfectly well. The technology is okay, the verification is smooth, and of course there has not been any complaint whatsoever in the places we have visited. So we expect that this will add to the credibility of the entire process at the end of the day. You can see here, we showed you earlier, you can see the gentleman there wearing the uniform of the NYSC there, you know, using that machine to verify the lady putting on Ankara attire over there. And that is how the machine has been working since morning in all the places that we visited this morning. They put the machine on their faces to match with the details, the data that they have on their system, to see if truly you are registered for this exercise and to see truly if you are not impersonating anybody. So far, I can confirm to you, based on what I have seen, that the technology is working perfectly well.
Well, it's good that the technology is working, and there are quite a few representatives there from INEC and also the youth corpers helping to make the situation go by. But it looks like I said before, like there's a lot of people on ground currently. You said the exercise was to start by 8, but it did not, and it's supposed to finish by 2:30. With the amount of people on ground, do you think that they will be able to go through all of the votes in time, or is this something that might be prolonged?
Okay, you know, according to the Independent National Electoral Commission, the exercise should end by 2:30 p.m. Okay, that's what we have on the papers, and that's what everybody agreed to. But INEC also add to that statement that until the last person on the queue had cast their votes, that is when the process will be deemed to have ended in reality. So if you take this polling unit for an instance, we have more than 2,000 people who are registered voters here. I doubt if they will be able to finish with these people by that 2:30 p.m. And we have a couple of places like this also across Ekiti, because Ekiti has the highest number of registered voters in this election. So we are waiting to see how things will play out at the end of the day. But based on what we are seeing here, I doubt from my, from what I've seen here, I doubt if the exercise will end by 2:30 p.m. Absolutely, I doubt it.
Oba, for those who might not be familiar with how this process works, can you give us a rundown? After the voting, let's say hypothetically it ends by 2:30, what happens next before everything's, just tell us what happens next before we know who emerges the new governor of Ekiti State.
Okay, according to the guidelines given to us by INEC, voting shall be continuous. Accreditation and voting system, that is, unlike in the past where you come first for accreditation, you go back to wait before voting will start. This particular election, voting and accreditation are done simultaneously. As you are getting accredited, as your data is being confirmed from the database, you are given the ballot sheet to go and cast your vote, and then you cast your vote. So the accreditation process, according to INEC, shall comprise of authentication and verification of voters using the biomodal accreditation system. It is known as BVAS, and that's what you saw earlier on being used by the youth corps member over there. So that means they will look at your record on their database to see if indeed you have registered or not. After which, they will now put ink on the cortical of your thumb. They put ink there to indicate that indeed you have taken your turn to participate in this exercise. And according to INEC, this process will start at 8:30 a.m., like I said, and end by 2:30 p.m., provided that any voter already in the queue shall be allowed to vote. After election and completion of result management procedure at the polling unit, the presiding officer will transmit a clear image of the result sheet, that's from EC8A, for purpose of collation. The result will be transmitted to INEC Result Viewing Portal, that's IREV, and or they can also deliver by hand the hard copy of the form EC8A and the beavers to the registration area collation officer to ensure that the number of accredited voters contained in the machine is the same thing in the form EC8A. After which we now go to the local government collation center to collect the result for each of the 16 local governments, and this result will now be transmitted to the state collation center here in Ekiti. That's the INEC office, a stone throw from where I'm standing right now. Then, after the collation of all the results, the resident electoral officer, that's the returning officer of this election, will now declare the next governor that will be taken over from Governor Dr. Kayode Fayemi, who is the incumbent governor.
All right, a great job you're doing there, Oba Adeoye. Thank you so much for keeping us up to date with what is going on. We are going to be getting back to you, so please stay with us, stay on standby. Right now, we are switching gears to speak with another Arise senior correspondent, Nii Oyelowo, who joins us now. Good afternoon, Nii. Good to see you in your vest and looking quite official. Can you tell us what is going on ground now?
Hawa, Cynthia, it's good to have you. Currently, I'm at Efon local government area, and that is where the candidate for the PDP in person of Olabisi Kolawole has already voted. We got here, just for an interview. We missed that, but earlier on we were at Ikogosi, where the APC candidate Abiodun Oyembaji had already voted, but we captured all of that. Soon you'll be getting all of that. But primarily, the election has been peaceful. It has been hitch-free in terms of all the equipment being used. There hasn't been any major setbacks, as it were. So in Efon, as soon as we got here, it's like the voting is already ended, as it were. But most people had already come out and vote. And of course, I have one of the local chieftains to give us his perspective on this election so far. Your name, please?
I'm Honorable Ajanoku Oluyemi,
and your
the chairman PDP Efon local government.
All right, your impression about this election so far here in Efon?
Yeah, the elections was free and fair. There's no intimidation and harassment in Efon local government. People came out en masse early in the morning, as early as 8:30, to vote. That is why you can see by this time now, all of us has voted, and we are waiting for the counting. Yeah.
All right, what can you tell us about the security arrangement? We saw quite a number of policemen and...
Yes, we have adequate security. There are soldiers, civil defense, and the mobile police, and the policemen. We have enough security, adequate one in this local government. Since yesterday, they have been parading, and the soldier has been here about 3, 4, 5 days, parading, showing their strength to let people know they are on ground. And there is enough security here.
And everywhere you go around Ekiti, we saw multitudes of people coming out, not just in Efon. What does that tell you?
Yes, it's because Ekiti people have decided to come out and vote and change the government, if possible, to have a new government who will do more, who will do better than the previous and the immediate government. So people are determined. That is why you see all people coming out en masse to vote. You will be surprised at the end of the day when they counted the vote. You will see our vote will be more than the last one in 2018.
Okay, what would you say about the registered votes? We saw quite a lot. You were telling me earlier there's about 31,000 in around F1 alone.
Yes.
Your thoughts on that?
Yes. I told you earlier that people have determined to vote. That is why a lot of people have to go to the INEC to register. Our last registration here in Efon is about 20,000 or 19. But now we are about 31,000 plus. That shows we are determined. And, BC Kolawole is from Efon, and Efon will have to support their own, just like other local governments. People are tired of this government and they want a new government. And if they don't register, there's no way you can chase them away. We will chase them away with our vote today.
All right. Talking about registration, how would you describe INEC's conduct? We saw that the places we've been to, all the beavers, technology, the machines being used were working perfectly. But how would you assess this election here in April?
Yes, let me start from the registration time. We had issues of network here, and till now, some of our voters' cards are still with the INEC because of this network issue. So we implored the INEC to find solution to this in previous election. And here in F4, the matching is good. We don't have any problem with any machine, and there's no complaint about any machine, because I move around the local government to make sure our people are doing very well and the machine are working. There's no complaint.
All right. Thank you very much for your thoughts on that. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you've heard, still the elections is still going on. Well, here in therefore, it's more like it's looking that it's over, but it's still some time to 2:30 where it will be finally over. But maybe in some regions where they're having some minor issues, there might be an extension regarding that. I also have okay. All right, so basically that's what's happening here. Cynthia.
Thank you so much, Nii. Honestly, compared to the scene of Oba's location, it looks like a ghost town where you are, because everybody's, done what they needed to do and gone.
Yeah,
but I'd like to ask you,
indeed,
as from an observer's point of view, I know we heard what the interviewee just said, but what would you say could have been done better with what you've seen so far at F4?
Well, as you've heard, there's an issue with the network. It's not only F1, but majority of some areas in Ekiti. I understand due to the terrain, which is highly hilly and mountainous, that's putting a dampener on the issue of getting the technology, which is of course internet-based most of the time, working. So that is a bit of a hitch. Hopefully, if they can find a contingency plan for that, it'll go a long way. But we haven't actually had major issues regarding that. And to a large extent, well, you could say we could give the elections here and in its environs maybe like 70% so far, despite the internet challenges, as it were. But just before I go, let's just have one more perspective on that, on the elections from another locals here. It's good to have you with us. Your name, please.
Thank you. My name is Alaola Lekon.
Okay, Lekon, what can you tell us about this election so far? What are your impressions? You voted, I assume.
Yeah,
all right.
Yes, that was, early this morning, there is issue that occurred about the machine.
Okay.
But later of the day, we thank God that the issue was resolved, and the turnout was very impressive, and people really come out massively to vote for the candidate of their choice. So at least if things can still continue like this, my belief is that by the grace of God, if this process is continuing like this, by the grace of God, 2023 election future is very, very certain, and we can assure that the INEC they are not giving us hope that Nigeria is coming gradually technology. Yes, that is why.
Very good. And I also saw a large turnout of youth such as yourself. What do you think is responsible for this? I know there's been a clarion call to get people to get their PVC, and we're seeing people actually doing that. So what do you make of that scenario?
No, yes, the turnout of the youth was very impressive, because the situation of things in Nigeria today, we the youth, people are saying that we are future of tomorrow. Even not future of tomorrow anymore, we are future of today. You understand? So that is why all the youth come out to vote for the candidate of their choice, to not allow anybody to defranchise them. So we have interest in this election. And I have my own candidate, my other colleagues, they have their own candidates. You understand? So now if the youth, we are ready to decide. So that is the reason why you see every one of us here today moving out to vote for the candidate of their choice.
And of course, we saw how the police also were very helpful.
In fact, very impressive. The security personnel is very, very okay, sir. It's very, very okay. At least there is no intimidation, no harassment, and nothing. So everybody really happy with situation of things right now. So that's just it.
Very good, Lekon. Many thanks for that.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us. So you've heard, as he said, there was an initial issue with the machines, most likely due to network issues, as it were. But that was resolved afterwards. So, it's still smooth sailing for the time being. Hawa, Cynthia.
Well, good to see that everything is nice and smooth in Efon. Let's take us back to Oba Adeoye, who is in Ado-Ekiti, where the polling is still taking place, and it is quite busy at the moment. Oba, are you still with us?
Yes, very well. I'm still in Ado-Ekiti, and we are still covering the election, and people are still, exercising their franchise here across Ekiti State. And while going from one place to another, I also came across the resident electoral commissioner for Ekiti State. That's Dr. Tela Aderemi, and he's also on ground monitoring the process. Is here with me this afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How do you do?
Yeah, I'm fine. So, based on the places you have visited so far today, what's your assessment of the situation? Is this what INEC expected to see before now?
You can see that this form part of the assurances given to the people that we are going to conduct this election on an improved electoral process that guarantee free, fair, credible, inclusive election, meeting up with the aspiration of Ekiti people, Nigerians, and in particular the international community. Based on this assessment, from our own end, we have made all what is required statutorily for the electorate to cast their vote. In terms of technology deployed, they are optimally functioning well. You can bear me witness, and the atmosphere is relatively calm. We stipulated this election to be taking place by 8:30 and 2:30. But as it is now, if it's even beyond, when we have the electorate on queue, we can give a respite for them to cast their vote before we end up the voting exercise.
Okay. Talking about the voting area, part of what we were told is that everywhere will be peaceful, but I can see some uniformed people carrying arms near voting area. Is this part of the arrangement, or have you seen anyone like that?
No, it's a result of my movement all around. They cannot come here to intimidate the electorate. You can see that you see people now casting their vote without any interference. We are now at Ward 9, Unit 9, and Unit 8. We have visited some of the polling units as well, and we have seen that we have not even recorded any violence. Although the security operatives have taken a very proactive mitigations that could easily erupt any electoral violence today. But nevertheless, we thank the good people of Ekiti State for taking this election and ensure that they allow the election to go on peacefully.
Have you seen any incidents of vote buying anywhere? Because I've spoken with some politicians, and they allege that there have been vote buying in some places. Have you perchance received any information or seen yourself?
I've not seen anything. Now, I've been out for almost 2-3 hours now. For instance, one radio station called me that they saw maybe a ballot box at a place where it's supposed not to be. But we have 2 elections going on right now. The governorship election, the Ekiti East Constituency 1 election, that is Omo, about 2 hours from Ado. How could you now find a ballot box here in Ado-Ekiti when it's supposed not to be there? And we remove our sensitive materials day before yesterday. So we just need to talk to the media as well to assist us, to support us and create a very good image about Nigerians outside world. Thank you.
So what do you expect to see at the end of the process?
My dear brother, I'm so happy. I will not lie to you. I can assure you that we are declaring today or possibly before the day runs out. But the whole thing is peaceful.
All right, thank you so very much, Dr. Tela Adeniro Ramon. I wish you all the best. And, I can confirm to you again that the security men you see around him are just in his convoy, and they are not, assigned to stay at any polling unit. You can see them returning into their vehicles. So those ones bearing arms are not anywhere near our polling unit. They only came in the convoy of the resident electoral commissioner. That's Dr. Tela Adeniro Rahman. The exercise continues, and we'll keep bringing you up to speed with what is happening from this part of Nigeria.
Very well said, Oba. It's hard to miss the fact that your location, Ekiti, and where Ni just reported, is the stark opposite. The voting exercise, the electorate have performed their civic duties over there, and it's basically over, and it's still going on here. And I'm wondering if this verifies the observation or the reports made by election observers who said that in most places, officials, including ad hoc staff deployed by INEC, arrived rather late. Could that be part of the reasons why things might not be moving as fast in your location?
No, I can tell you that in most places we visited this morning, most of these INEC staff, both full and ad hoc staff, they arrived their respective polling units as early as 7:15 a.m.
Okay.
I can confirm that to you. But like I said earlier, Ekiti has the highest number of registered voters. So you expect that the election in Ekiti would drag more than election in several other parts of the state. In this particular point where we are standing right now, we have more than 2,000 registered voters here. So you agree with me that managing 2,000 people within 8:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. may not really be as easy as managing like 200, 500 people in some other polling unit across town.
Understood.
All right, and Oba, you were talking about the fact that it has, this particular, in Ekiti has the highest number of registered voters in the country. I think you said 986,202. That is a huge number. And we know that all across the country there has been this massive push for PVC registration, especially in the last couple of weeks before it closes. What is it about Ekiti State or Ekiti in particular that sees us getting these high numbers?
I didn't get that, but I think you're talking about the number of people that collected their PVCs before this exercise. INEC told us that the total number of registered voters, out of the total number of registered voters, that's more than 900,000 of those people who registered for this election. Only 749,065 people collected their PVC before today, and that represents about 76% of the entire of the total number of people who registered to participate in this election. For me, I think that's fair enough if you compare with previous elections in some other parts of the country where you have voter apathy, towards exercise like this. But it's too early in the day to confirm if there's any serious voter apathy in parts of the state. But from what I've seen, there have been a very large turnout of people coming out to participate in this process. But the final result of the election will prove to us if indeed there have been, massive turnout of people or there have been voter apathy in any part of Ekiti State.
Oh, but I can't help but, remember the joke that we had about the peace accord a few days ago when I asked you about measures being put in place to ensure that it would be implemented. I think today's exercise or how things have played out so far is an indicator that that was actually adhered to or implemented as it should. But I'd just like to ask you what boosted the sense of confidence on the part of the electorate, to get a sense of security. because we can't ignore the incidents that took place way before this election, you know, people being killed and everything like that.
Yes, from what I've seen here, and from what I told you earlier, the electorate in Ekiti State are well informed. If you compare them to electorate in some other parts of the country, they are well informed. They know what is expected of them, how to comport themselves during this process. And having said that, I think in the build-up to this particular election, there was massive enlightenment programs everywhere across Ekiti State. We met some of these programs when we came in on Wednesday night. We saw some advocacy everywhere. I was in Ifaki, Ekiti moments ago, and there was a big billboard done by Ifaki Youth Movement or so, you know, being written in Yoruba language, telling the people that Edibu Ema Sheja, meaning vote and don't fight. And we had the billboard there. And, you know, programs like that, you know, spread across Ekiti State, actually also prepared the voters ahead of this particular election. But talking about the peace parley that was signed by the 11 out of the 16 aspirants on Thursday, or on Tuesday rather, I'm not sure if that particular peace parley had any direct bearing on how peaceful the process has been, because that's not the first time that a peace parley will be signed by politicians going into an election. But I can confirm to you that the security agencies represented in this election have been doing wonderfully well. They have been okay, you know, going about, you know, coordinating people and, you know, mounting road blockages and ensuring that things are orderly, except for few cases, like I said, and like the lawyer that I interviewed earlier said, except for few places where soldiers were not properly informed about the caliber of people that have the right to move from one point to the other. In some places that I've visited, it was total blockage. Nobody was allowed to move from one point to another. But on the overall, you give it to all of them, the police, the civil defense corps, the road safety officials, the military, and the rest of them. They have been, you know, doing so well in ensuring that everywhere is peaceful.
All right, thank you for that, Abbas. So earlier I was asking you about the reason why there was such a large number of registered voters, particularly in Ekiti State, but you answered in Cynthia's question that there had been a lot of sensitization drives that had been held in the state. So everyone is quite abreast and politically astute in knowing who the candidates are and wanting to represent. So that's very good to know. I see there's a lot of youth and elderly people in the crowd, which is quite comforting as well. But on an off topic, about it seems like the weather is fine there for now. It looks like it's getting a little cloudy. I'm wondering if there are any provisions that INEC has made just in case rain comes down, because this will definitely drive voters away. It'll deter voters. I'm wondering if there's any kind of implementations in case of inclement weather.
Yes, you know, for days now in Ekiti State, it has been raining back to back. And you rightly observe the weather, the cloud is gathering here. And you can see behind me, we have canopies in this particular polling unit and in several other polling units that I visited this morning. So maybe because of the crowd, this canopy may not be able to contain this large, you know, number of people here. But the voting materials and the ad hoc staff are well protected under the canopies in case there's any downpour at this point in time. I've visited some local government and some polling units, and I can also tell you that we have canopies like this in those polling units. And I want to believe that INEC also had it at the back of its mind that we are in the raining season, and that's why, you know, facilities like this canopy is being provided across polling units in the state.
Interestingly, I mean, I have another question for you, Oba, but Well, it's still in the season of COVID-19, and I don't think I've seen one mask. So how is anyone taking safety measures to ensure that there's no spread?
There's zero adherence to COVID precautions in this election. I've not seen anybody really wearing any face mask, and there is no any form of distancing among the voters. Everywhere is crowded, and everybody is just carrying on like they are used to doing before the advent of COVID-19. So perhaps COVID is on holiday here, but I know that they are conscious. They are conscious of the fact that we still have COVID-19 in place, but I cannot explain to you why nobody is, paying attention to the wearing of masks, observing social distancing, and what have you. Maybe we'll speak with authorities. Perhaps that particular, safety measures have been relaxed in this part of the country, but from what you can see, it's crowded, no social distancing, no wearing of face mask, nothing to tell us that the people are still conscious of the fact that COVID-19 is around here with us in Nigeria.
Well, actually, Oba, to correct you, I saw one face mask
One out of 2
in
million.
the crowd. So we do have one individual who is careful about the COVID protocols today. But as we laugh here in the studio, it seems that the temperature over there is the mood is quite jolly. As the camera was panning, I saw quite a few smiles and laughs, which is a little bit different from a usual polling unit, which tends to be a little bit tense and chaotic, so to speak. So can you speak to us about the reasons why possibly voters are in such a good mood, especially today? Is it because the electronics are working as well as they are, or is it because, the 3 representatives, actually the 16 political parties being represented, and the 3 major candidates are some people that can drive Ekiti State forward, or are they just extremely nationalistic and, happy to exercise their civic duty of voting? What do you think, Oba?
Hello, I didn't get that. Hello?
Okay, Oba. I was talking about the
fact... Can you take that question again if you can hear me?
Yes, no worries. I was talking about the fact that there seems to be a jolly sense of... it seems quite jolly on that side. It's not as tense and chaotic as we tend to see polling units, especially at this time of day. We see a couple people in the crowd who are actually cracking smiles, a couple youth laughing. So I'm wondering what the reason for the jolliness of the Ekiti citizens is today. Is it the fact that they have good candidates that are going to come out from this election to represent them? Is it that they're very excited to exercise their civic duty, or what could be the reason for, or is it because everything is going quite smoothly, that everyone is peaceful and in good spirits?
Okay, it's possibly the fact that because everything is going on according to plan, and that's why you can see the people, comporting themselves like one big family. It's like a carnival-like atmosphere here in Ekiti. Some people are sitting, by the side even after casting their vote. Some people are still waiting to take their turn in casting the vote. Some people are doing brisk businesses. People are cooking. People are selling soft drinks, snacks, and what have you there. I don't know. I think it's because the people have so much confidence in the process, and so far they have not seen any reason for them to doubt the credibility of the exercise, and that is what you are seeing being written on their faces, as you have rightly observed. In places I've visited, it's one big family, and everybody is just going about their respective roles in a peaceful manner. And you can see, let me quickly tell you about this machine. Is it failing? Okay, I think the machine you are seeing on the camera is acting up, and this is the first of the situation that we'll see today since we have started, covering this election. Perhaps it has to do with connectivity, but we'll wait to see if it will respond. But back to your question, the people here, they are acting like one big family. Everybody is happy, everybody's relaxed, everybody's calm. Perhaps they already have an idea of where, the outcome will swing at the end of the day. Perhaps all of them are united about a decision to pick a particular candidate of the 16 that are contesting this election. Perhaps they have, some information about how other people are also voting too. But all of this, we'll wait to see, we'll wait for a confirmation at the end of the entire exercise.
All right, correspondent Oba Odeoye, thank you for your fantastic reportage. We'll be back with you as soon as we can. Thank you so much.